Hello there. This is Jen T. Grace, founder of Publisher Purpose and also founder of the Institute for Author Growth and Impact. And I am here for day number 7 of this workshop. So we are talking today about how AI can help you find the entry point into every chapter that you write. One of the things that we often see, or I have certainly seen over the years, is there is a difficulty in starting, right? So you are staring at a blank page and it is stressful and is overwhelming. And then you start writing, you get into some kind of groove, and eventually you have words on the page, which is fantastic. And that's obviously what we're going for here. However, the next piece of this is starting each chapter. So once we kind of have an outline fleshed out, we kind of have a general sense of where we're going with the work. A lot of times that blinking cursor that awaits us when we start a new chapter can be just as scary as the first page. So what I want to talk to you about today is how can we have AI help us find an entry point for the writing process? Remember, we are not using AI to write the chapter. We're not even using it to write the introduction to the chapter. We are going to talk about how we can get one single sentence as that starter that can then spark our creativity and also give us different ways to kind of open the chapter, because it depends on what your writing style is, who your target audience is, what your, I guess, communication style is in general. So like, what does that look like? If you are standing on a stage or you're having a conversation with a client or you're having a conversation with a friend, what is your communication style? What feels good and natural? And how can we have AI really help us think about the best way to use our natural styles to get into that entry point? So today, what I want to talk about is really how we're going to start those chapters. So if we go back a couple of days in our conversation, we talked on day 4 about the blank page and kind of just scaring us and getting unstuck. Then we kind of moved through thinking about just other aspects of this. So like we're on day 7 here. We're like in really good shape in regards to being able to like really move at a rapid pace compared to how writing once was. So the whole point of using AI is to help us just get unstuck. That is truly the whole point. It's to help us get a little bit of momentum and let us get going, because I cannot tell you how many times I have worked with somebody who it happens. I honestly probably give this advice at least 3 or 4 times a week without fail, that when you are ending a chapter or starting a new chapter, to just focus on what you can focus on and let the editors do the rest. I think sometimes we forget that editors are a thing, and that is their job. Their job is to help us take whatever we've brought to the table and make it better. That is the whole point of editing. And so if we can just kind of like release the stress that this has to be perfect, that we have to know exactly what we're doing, we have to have the exact clarity. If we can just drop all of that and know that an editor, a professional editor who's trained in book editing, will help us down the road connect the dots, this can be a game changer. So what we're thinking about here is just pretend you already have a chapter, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. So just if you don't have one written already, just kind of pretend. Instead of having the chapter have to end with a very cute little bow and a conclusion, drop it. Just pretend that it has a conclusion. It's feeling a little unfinished. It's fine. The problem that we get into is that now when we're going to write the chapter that follows it, we get really stressed out about how to make sure that chapter 4 is connected to chapter 3. And that can be really stressful, because a lot of times it's not as difficult as it sounds to make the connection, but it also can be really tricky and troublesome to make the connection, especially when we are experts in our work and we are a lot of times kind of taking things for granted. We're making assumptions, which often happens where we're thinking about what the reader should already know, but it may not be what we've actually taught them. And so we have to think about that as well. And so when we're thinking about the entry points, all we're trying to do is just figure out how can we start a new chapter without really connecting the dots to the previous chapter, because we're filing it away that an editor is going to help us later. Like, this is a future you problem. Future you will be like, okay, that's right. Past me warned me that this was coming. I'm in good shape. I'm fine. So when we're looking at the prompt that we're going to use, and so as usual, as I've been doing for the last 6 days, I'm going to share the prompt, and then I'm going to tell you what mine was, and then I'm going to give you the results from my prompt. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say, I'm writing a chapter about insert whatever it is here. And mind you, you're going back to the AI that you've been using. So at this point, you should have a running chat going in whatever AI tool you are using. It does not matter what tool you're using. You don't need the paid plan to do this. You can do this in any free AI tool. If you are nervous and a little bit scared about using AI for this, I get it. This might be your first foray into AI, and that's okay. But just go back to the chat that you're using so you don't have to repeat yourself, basically. So what we're saying is, I'm writing a chapter about, insert your topic. The chapter needs to take my reader from basically the pain point that prompted them to pick up the book in the first place to the transformation that they are capable of if they read the book, if they follow the steps, if they follow, they read your journey and going from A to B. That's what we're going for. So what does that look like? And the beautiful thing about AI is it doesn't have to even be cohesive. It doesn't even have, it can be completely incoherent, even if we're being honest. So just kind of like stream of conscious, just dump out whatever it is. You don't need punctuation. That is the beautiful thing about AI, is that it can make sense of stuff that you're putting in there that does not make sense. Then we're going to say, give me 5 completely different ways to open this chapter. And you can say something even more clear, saying ranging from direct and practical to personal and story driven. So if you already know what your natural writing and communication style is, you can put that here. So if you are not a practical, if you're not writing in a practical way, then don't put it. But I like to kind of throw a whole range because it really gives us a wide view of what this could look like. Then we can say, just give me the angle and 1 sentence as an example for each. So basically at the end of this, we're going to have, 5 different entry points into what you can do with your chapter. And it's going to give us 1 sentence that's going to be the thing that stops us from opening a chapter and not having a single sentence written. So we're going to see that sentence and it's going to inspire us and we'll be like, yes, I can do this. That is the point of what we're doing here, because it takes away the fear and the anxiety of staring at a blank page, because that is the thing that stops us from continuing, is that damn blank page. The cursor is blinking at us. It is taunting us. It's, it can stress us out. So my filled in example looks like, and again, I am working on a new book idea in real time with all of you. So mine says, I am writing a chapter about dismantling the safety versus purpose as a binary. This chapter needs to take my reader from feeling paralyzed by the fear that choosing purpose means financial ruin to understanding that purpose and pragmatism can coexist. Give me 5 completely different ways to open this chapter, range from direct and personal and story-driven. Do not write the full opening, just give me the angle in 1 sentence as an example. So that is kind of what a prompt could look like. What I actually did is I put, based on what you know about my book idea, I want to start writing a chapter based on my reader's highest needs. Give me 5 completely different examples, different ways to open this chapter. So you can do that too. So if you were going back to the same AI that you've been using this whole time, you can just say, listen, based on what you know, I'm trying to start a chapter and I'm trying to start this book and I want to start it based on the highest needs that the reader has. What can I work with here? So I have kind of like the filled in example of kind of like a best practice, if you will. And then I have what I actually did. And I think what I actually did is probably what will make more sense for you to actually do. And so now, again, as I've been saying this whole week, Claude is my preferred AI platform, but I'm using Gemini because Gemini doesn't know my voice. So if I'm going into Gemini, it is giving me very different information than if I'm going in Claude. You can choose which path makes the most sense for you. You might want to map this out with an AI tool that really knows you well. You might want to do it where it's a completely fresh blank slate, and you might get slightly less unbiased for whatever degree AI is capable of being unbiased. So now I have 5 different angles that I can take for this opening chapter. So we're basically working without an outline at this point. We're just saying like, hey, we've been working on the purpose. We've been working on who this is for, figuring out kind of like what the entry points are. Now I want to figure out like, what's the first chapter I'm going to write? What's the first starting point I'm going to do? That's kind of what we're getting at here. We're not saying like, give me an outline yet. We're just saying like, give me an opening chapter. So the 5, and this is going to be a little bit long, and I am working on a guide that will include all of the information that has been throughout the 7 days and the coming days. So that way, if you would like to access that, you will be able to, and you'll get all of this detail versus just the little bit that I can share in 15 minutes or less. So My AI came back and said, based on your reader's profile, someone at a personal or career breaking point who feels a pull towards something bigger, but feels trapped by safety and exhaustion, their highest, most immediate need is to feel deeply understood and to realize their breaking point is a catalyst, not a failure. Here are 5 completely different angles that open the chapter, ranging from deeply personal to highly practical. So it is saying that if I am starting this book based on the limited information that I have provided it over the last 7 days, that it believes that I need to address immediately that this is not a failure, that we are really working on this exhaustion that you're feeling is absolutely a breaking point and you're going to bust wide open, which is really exciting when I think about it. So again, which is why I'm focusing on potentially a book like this. So angle 1, the personal story-driven opening. And it's basically saying this angle is vulnerable. It's an in-the-moment mud kind of situation from your life. It mirrors where the reader is feeling now. There's more to it, but I'm going to leave it at that. So the sample first sentence could look like, I was sitting in my car in the office parking lot, staring at the steering wheel with a grip so tight my knuckles were white, realizing I couldn't bring myself to open the door. I have that exact example. Like that came again from AI, from just the limited information I provided it. But I can see myself sitting in the car in an office parking lot in 2009, in November of 2009 to be precise, before I skipped on out of that building after I quit my job. So I quit my, office job in insurance in 2009, and I have never looked back. And so I was once in this position, and I didn't even give my AI that detail because it's almost like a universal experience. So we're trying to get to the universality of this as well. The second angle is the counterintuitive or provocative opening. So the sample first sentence for this would be, congratulations, the fact that you are utterly miserable and feel like you were breaking down is the best news your career has seen in a decade. Now, I am a direct person, but I am not, this doesn't feel good for me. The first one, which is very kind of personal and story driven, that felt good for me. So I'm like, okay, angle 1, feeling good. Angle 2, not so much, because I'm not really like the, hey, you're miserable and you're breaking down. Like that doesn't feel right. Angle 3 is the direct and practical symptom checklist opening. So the sample first sentence could look like, if you look successful on paper, but you find yourself scrolling job boards at 2 a.m. just to feel a spark of hope, you aren't suffering from burnout, you're experiencing an identity crisis. Okay, so like I look at that and I'm like, all right, so maybe a little bit of 3 meets most of 1. Then angle 4 is systemic and philosophical. So it could be, we are raised to build a life based on the question, what am I good at? Completely oblivious to the trap that awaits us when the answer turns out to be something we utterly hate. I really like that one. That one feels really in alignment with kind of the direction that I want to head in. Then angle 5 is the empathetic safe space opening. Sample first sentence could be, you can drop the armor for the next few pages. You don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't have to pretend that you love the life you've spent the last 15 years building. It's another one that I really like. So basically what my AI came back to me and said is, your 20-minute action step is, look at these 5 entry points. Which one feels the easiest to talk about for 15 minutes? Don't pick the best one. Just pick one that feels like it's the lowest hurdle to help us get writing. If we want to take this one step further, what you could do is, and I love talking into Claude, is, and again, I'm using Gemini for this, you can obviously talk into Gemini as well, is I could say, I really love 1, a little bit of 4, and a lot of 5. Let's talk about this. And then I can just ramble. Like I don't even have to be cohesive, as I said before. I can just ramble of all the reasons why this feels good. Because basically what it's saying is, what's the easiest thing to talk about? Like for me, I like to make things feel accessible for people. I don't want you to have this book idea in your head and sit on it forever because you just feel like it is something that only certain people can do. Writing a book is literally accessible to everybody, and using AI can help us make it more accessible. And so when I look at that, I would want to be kind of sharing that information. It's the same thing with purpose, right? I have built a business around purpose. That is the center of literally everything I do, is helping people find their purpose and then put it into the form of a book, get on a stage and speaking with it, doing keynote talks, whatever that might look like. And so I could ramble easily for 15 minutes. And 15 minutes of rambling into an AI tool can bring you back a lot of information. And then that might be what kind of starts to open up what your chapter structure might look like, what your outline might look like. So that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of here, is just that one sentence that feels like, oh, that feels good. I could really riff on that for a while. That's what we're going for. We're not saying, hey, AI, please write me all of this chapter. We're just using it to kind of spark that creativity so we can just start letting it fly. And if you are not a good writer, which many people are not good writers, many authors who publish books will self-admit that they are not good writers because they use an editing professional who can help make it better. So they're not getting hung up on whether they're good or not. They're just writing it the way that they can. And so using a transcription-based approach where you just kind of like ramble away and whatever comes out, and then you use AI to help you kind of clean it up and shape it around, that is a good use of using AI. You don't want to go, like, I would never open up an AI tool and say, like, help me write a book about finding your purpose. That's not going to work because it's not going to have anything. It's not going to have any ways in which I operate embedded into it. It's not going to know my voice. It's not going to know the tone. It's not going to know the examples I've used. It's not going to know my 15 years of experience in helping people do this. So that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of today with this example. So I'm just going to read the prompt again. I am writing a chapter about blank. This chapter needs to take my reader from where they're at the start of this chapter to where they are by the end of this chapter. Give me 5 completely different ways to open this chapter, ranging from direct and practical to personal and story-driven. And if you don't want to fill in the blanks, as I did not, I went right back to the tool I was using and put in, based on what you know about my book idea, I want to start writing a chapter based on my reader's highest needs. Then give me 5 completely different ways. So that is today's tip. As I have been saying this entire time, this is leading up to June 17th. I will have a product/tool that will take all of this information and put it into one document where you can work your way through from start to finish. This was video 7. I will be back for video number 8 on Tuesday, June 9th. So in just a couple of days, I will be back for that video number 8. And I appreciate your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me, email me, find me, send a carrier pigeon if you will. However, whatever it looks like to get in touch with me, please do. I am here and happy to help as always. And if you're looking for resources on how to grow your life as an author, whether you're writing, publishing, or marketing, please check out the Institute for Author Growth and Impact. The website is authorgrowthandimpact.org. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.